Hello YouTubers, it is Tuesday, October 1st, 2019. Thanks for joining me, Angela Logan, Everyday Shenanigans. It is a wonderful, blessed day in America. Miss Amber Guyger, ex-Dallas cop, was found guilty of murdering Mr. Botham Jean. And I am so thrilled and happy. There were other charges that they could have charged her with, and they did not. It could have been manslaughter. They did not. They chose first-degree murder, and I'm so thrilled. And I listened to other programs today, other media outlets of different commentary on the case. I was listening to Nancy Grace Crime Stories today briefly. You know, she had other commentators on there going back and forth with their synopsis of the issue of the apartment being dark and Well, let me say this, and I'm going to be brief because I'm not going to dwell on this, only because she was found guilty. Now, had she not been found guilty, you know I'd be raising pure hell. But right now I'm not going to do that because I'm joyful for him, his family. They found justice. So I will say this much, as far as for argument's sake, it is petty and contrite to argue over the fact that she thought it was her apartment. She was groggy. She worked long hours. The evidence was there, and it helps support the fact that she was reckless in her behavior in entering Mr. Botham's apartment. Mr. Botham Jean had a red rug in front of his door. The door was ajar, allegedly, her version. They're saying that it was dark inside of the apartment. I don't know. I wasn't there. And at this point, I really wouldn't believe anything that she says. I'm just keeping it 100. Let's say for argument's sake that it was dark inside of Mr. Botham's apartment. Okay, who walks into an apartment and walk all the way through and shut the door, lock the door without turning on a light or a lamp? Do you see what I'm saying? And even if you walked into the apartment and you went to turn on a light, at that point you realize this is not your apartment. You should walk out. As Nancy Grace said to the commentator on her show today, first of all, there was a red rug at the door. That should have told you to turn around. Second of all, you had to pull out your gun in entering the apartment. So you still had time to refocus and change your mind. And we'll leave it at that. It is a grand day. I am happy that they found her guilty. And that's the end of that. Now, the sentencing phase will continue tomorrow morning, Wednesday, October 2nd. I'm praying that she gets a lengthy sentence, and we will see how the sentencing phase goes. But I want to give my sincerest condolences to Mr. Jean's family, because I've read an article today briefly that the mother is still dealing with the death of her son, who was murdered last year by this ex-cop, and it is a sad tale. It is a very, very sad tale, because, people are still, debating the situation. Yay, this, that, and the other, who did what, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, the evidence is supported. And I'm glad that the jury members debated and they weighed everything, because like I said, you can't ignore the rug. I don't care if a hallway looks the same as another hallway in another building. Once you see the rug, you should have turned around. Once you stepped inside and turned a light on, you should have turned around. Because once you're inside and you turn a light on, you can see this is not your home, this is not your apartment. Okay? That's common sense. So you went in anyway, despite the rug outside. You had to turn a light on, which you still notice this is not your place, and then you still pull a gun out. So you see, fault still lies on her. You can't use the excuse that you worked hard, this, that, and the other. And let me tell you, this case is so wicked that they've accusing her of having some type of relationship or sex relationship or sexting with her partner. That's crazy. She has all type of crazy whack memes on her Facebook page or social media page that's could have been in all fun. But once you're standing trial for murder, anything you ever did or said, or your social media pages, commentary, all that's going to come up. And see, that's one thing people don't think about. And you wouldn't think about it because you don't think you're going to be facing a crime one day. But you do have to think about all the things you do and say and post on your social media page, because one day those things might come back and bite you in your tail. But I'm going to tell you something that was so interesting about her. She's a white female accused of killing a black man in his apartment. She made statements in her text to, I guess, another cop or whomever, a friend, about going to the scene, and there were nothing but black cops on the scene. And she basically was making a reference that they do things different, or she did things different than how they handle. I don't want to quote, but it was in that reference that they do things differently than, I guess, how she would handle a situation. Let me tell you about how that is so interesting today, hearing that in the text message that the prosecution showed on the screen in court today. Fast forward a year later, since you made those texts to whomever, you get indicted for killing a black man in his apartment, and you're sitting before a black judge a year later. 2 bailiffs were black in the court, and one of the prosecuting attorneys was African American. And I saw that just from her scrolling and going up and down, showing the information in court, and I saw these little black fingers, and I thought to myself, bet you didn't think you'd be indicted and that you'd be sitting in court with a black prosecuting attorney, a black judge, and black bailiffs. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. Sometimes it's best to think before you do things, because you know you only get one chance. This is no dress rehearsal. Can't go back. She can't go back. And Mr. Botham, he's not coming back. So somebody had to speak on his behalf, and they spoke today. Angela Logan, checking out. Thanks a lot.